Okay, we're starting a new game today. This is we're doing it's called Rainbow Reef, but we have some problems we need to sort through first. So we're just going to get a start on this, and then we're going to show what some of the problems are, and then start talking about possible solutions. So if you could create a new game, just say new project. So new project. You want to use drag and drop again. We're going to stick with drag and drop here on this game. And then we want to put it out in our H drive. So you go to your H drive. For me, that's my Z drive, but for you, it's your H drive. And then I've kind of got mine segregated by class. So I'm going to make a new folder here. This is period 4, right? And inside that folder, I'm going to make a project called Rainbow. So that's what we're making, is our Rainbow game. Now, I was down in Hawaii. It was kind of fun this summer. They actually had a place called Rainbow Reef. I thought that was funny since I've been coding this game for about 20 years. There is actually a place called Rainbow Reef, which is kind of neat. It's on a Disney property called Aulani. Has anyone been to Aulani in Hawaii? It's a kind of a newer resort. It's pretty nice. Okay, so what are we going to need in this game? Well, we're going to need a room, just like always. Our room size is going to be kind of different. Let's try a room size of 800 by 600. So we're using the old screen aspect ratio. And we'll do that. It just makes it a little bit smaller. And then our grid size, we also want to change that. So that's up here. You click on this little arrow thing. And we want to set the grid size to 20 by 20. So lots of different grid sizes. And this grid size is just to help us position our blocks of things. Okay. So now we have our grid. We want to put a couple objects in the game. We're going to do some experiments with physics right now. So we need some sprites to represent some of the objects we're going to be dealing with. Our first sprite is going to be a wall sprite. So we say create sprite. And we'll say sprite underscore wall. And then we want to import that. So you say import. And you want to go out to the classes folder, which is your S drive, and go to Game Design 1. And then here's our next project, Rainbow Reef. Go to Chapter 6. And then here's, if you want to see these, you can switch this to large icons so you can see what the pictures look like. And the one we want for the wall is this one. See how small it is? So that's our wall. It's 20 by 20. It's pretty small. So that's our wall. So our wall sprite looks like that. And then the other sprite we're going to need for today is the ball sprite, which is each of the, there's two characters in this game. There's Pop, which is the happy starfish ball thing. And then there's Catch, which is the paddle. So we're going to create a sprite for Pop. So we're going to say SPR underscore pop. Now we want to change the size of this. Well, now we'll just make that, I think it'll resize once we import it. So we'll keep that the same. But you don't want to select this one. You want to select this one. Okay? This one is the icon that they would use like on the desktop to signify that's the game. But this is the one you actually want to use. This is actually an animated sprite. So choose the pop one and say open. And what you'll note is there's a whole bunch of frames. And the problem is we need to remove the background color on all of those frames. But there's a way to do it a little bit more quickly, so I want to show you that way. So what do we want to do here? Well, we want to edit it. Let's see, scoot it over. So here you would say edit image. And it has the animation in it. But We don't want to do this a million times. I mean, normally what we do is we go in here and we click this and then we click that, and that erases that blue color. But what you can do is you can select more than one here. So if you click on this first frame, like right here, it selects that, or it should select it. And then if you move the slider all the way to the other end and then hold down the Shift button and then click, then you select all of them. Okay? So a lot of times on a PC, if you want to select a range of things, if you use the Shift key along with your mouse, it will select everything in between the first selection and the Shift click selection. And then now what you can do is you can remove that color and it'll apply to all of them instead of just the first one. See, I just saved you tons of time. There's 45 of these, I think. Okay. And all this sprite is doing is just rotating. So if we go back to our object now, if I play the animation, well, we have to set the animation speed. So I was thinking maybe about 15. He's just slowly rotating, just a little bit at a time. So let's try that and see if it rotates. You can see here, Pop is happily rotating. You can also see the anti-aliasing pretty well when it's animating. You know, when you look at a sprite that's relatively small up close, it looks like this, but your brain fills in. This looks really ugly up close, but further away it looks pretty nice. Okay, so there's our pop sprite. Now that we have the sprites, we can, there's something we have to do on this one though. If we go to pop and we want to make sure we set this to middle center, okay? Because we want that to be in the middle, and that's super important to get the angles right. You don't want to do that on the wall, but you certainly want to do that on pop. So make sure that the origin is in the center. Now notice that pop is 35 by 35. So half of that would be 17.5. But since pixels can't be divided in half, they choose one or the other. And this side, they chose 17. I guess that's 0, 0. So maybe that's the 18th one. But you can see there, it's not exactly in the center. It's just a little bit off. But we don't have a sprite size that's even. Okay, so we have pop. Now that we have these objects, we can't do anything with these sprites unless we have objects, right? So let's create our objects now. So we say create object, and then we say, well, which object we want to create first? Well, let's do our wall first. Wall might be good to do first. I like to do the static things before the dynamic things. And then here we can choose our sprite wall. And we want to make sure that our wall is solid. Okay, it's not moving around. It's a static. It's not going to be affected by gravity. It's just there, and it's solid. So make sure to click solid there. And then now that we have our wall, we can create our pop sprite, which is our ball, basically. So this would be object pop, object underscore pop. Which sprite do we use? We use our animated sprite. I get this every once in a while. It says the project directory has been modified. Would you like to reload or save? Here we say save. There's some kind of weird connection between GameMaker and the server that's not working out. It's having problems. So I've got to sort that one out. But always say save there so you don't lose any information. We don't want to make pop solid. Typically things that are dynamic or things that are moving, you don't want to make those solid, even though they behave solidly. We're going to keep that not being solid. And then we'll call it good. Now, it used to be in GameMaker, we would say, well, we want this to be affected by gravity, right? So there's one way you could do this is you could say, well, in my create event, and these are just experiments. So some of these we're going to go back and delete, like this one. We're going to go back and delete. So you can just watch the experiment and maybe not do this. But what we've done in the past is we said, okay, we're going to set a direction. Our direction is down, and we're going to set our speed to, let's say, 4. Okay. And we'll see what happens when we put pop in the room. Well, we have to create our room first, I guess. So let's do that next. Now that we have objects, we can make our room. We can put pop in the middle somewhere. Notice how pop is being placed based on its origin, right? But then here, if you select Object Wall and hold down the Alt key, notice how you can paint now. If you click and drag, you can paint the walls on. And we're going to put walls all the way around, kind of like what we did in Catch the Clown. It's hard to do this. These blocks are kind of small. If you make mistakes, you can come back later and fix them. I usually do one side at a time, so. To get rid of them, just click on one and then hit delete. Oh, the shift? Really? Shift and drag deletes them? Oh, yeah, and then you can delete them. Yeah. That's cool. You do a selection box. I like that. Okay, so that's our starting point. We'll just have pop on the screen. Here, what we'll do is we'll run this and we'll see. It doesn't do much. There's no gravity yet. Well, I guess we did have gravity. How did gravity get turned on? Oh, that we gave it speed, right? So in that create event, we gave it a speed going down. And it fell off the screen. But it wasn't really gravity. You can see that the speed was constant. And that's not how gravity works, right? This game doesn't model physics very well. Let's watch it one more time just to make sure we understand that this is what we did in Lazarus. And see, he's just falling at the same rate. If you were flying through space, that'd be fine. But if you're on Earth, that doesn't work, right? Because you're supposed to be speeding up exponentially. So what do we do? Well, what we could do is we could, let's get rid of this event. What we could do is in the step event, so do a step event. We do the step event, and what we could do is we could say, well, in every frame, we want to, well, we don't want that. Yeah, we could say this set variable. We could say v speed. And we could just take a little bit off of it each time. We could say 0.1. And remember y is upside down. So by adding to v speed, it's going to make it go down. By subtracting, it makes it goes up. So we leave this as a positive number. Okay. And say relative. And then every frame, it's going to add just a little bit of downward motion to our pop character. And let's see what that looks like when we play the game. See, that looks like gravity, right? Okay. Try it again. Just watch it one more time. See, it speeds up. So that's good. We kind of have gravity kind of working in our favor here. We start out with no speed at all, but then it starts picking up steam and it goes a little bit faster. But then we have this problem with the collision event. Okay? You say, well, what happens when we collide with the wall? What are we supposed to do? Okay, so let's put in that collision event. So let's see. Let's go back here. So what should happen when pop collides with the wall? So go back to the pop object. So click on it over here. And then we want to add a collision event with the wall. What should happen? Well, if we're just going one direction, we can do something simple, right? We can just say reverse. Well, I think it would be here we can say reverse, and we would say, yeah, let's just leave it at direction, right? Okay, so we reverse our direction. And the expectation I'm thinking is, well, I don't know what's going to happen here, okay? I haven't actually tried this. But let's see what happens. So it looks okay. It looks like it's bouncing. One expectation I'm having is that it should get slower, right? It loses a little energy every time it goes down, but it doesn't seem to be losing any energy. This, again, not modeling physics very well. And what we're noticing is that pop is getting higher and higher. And that's not how physics works, right? It shouldn't be getting taller and taller. Pretty soon we're going to hit the top of the room. And the question is, why is that? Is it getting taller? It seems to be. A little bit each time. Okay, so that doesn't work because the ball shouldn't be bouncing higher each time. It should be bouncing lower each time, or at least staying the same. Now, every time a ball hits the ground, you lose a little bit of energy to the ground, right? And so the ball eventually stops bouncing. We're almost to the top. Okay, so that's not modeling physics very well. Okay, it shouldn't be getting higher. Okay, so that's not good. So we just say reverse direction. That's fine, but our speed is constantly speeding up. So if we go back to our step event, here's our step event. We're increasing the vertical speed by 1, and we say relative. You figure that would slow it down. It doesn't seem to be slowing, because if you add to v speed, that means to go down. But maybe what this doing is it's adding to the v speed in the direction it's traveling. And if it does that, it's going to get higher and higher. So this doesn't work. And it certainly doesn't work if you're coming in at an angle. So instead of, yeah, how would I simulate this? Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll give just an initial horizontal speed to pop, just to start them off with. So all I'm doing, this is another experiment. Uh-oh, I get that again. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so go away. I want to give it a little bit of horizontal speed. So here I say, instead of direction, I say horizontal, and I'm going to give it a speed of 2. Okay. And if I run this, what you'll find is that the bouncing doesn't work right. See that? See, why is it doing that? Yeah, what do you think? Right. It's reversing both the horizontal and the vertical direction. And so we get this kind of behavior, which doesn't model physics at all either, right? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Okay, so, and it's getting higher and higher. We can see that. So this doesn't work. But we're really striking out, you know. We tried a lot of things. So we can't really reverse direction. We need to bounce, right? So one of the things we could do is we do what we did in the Catch the Clown game, right? We can say, I'm going to get rid of, well, I'll leave that speed there because it's kind of nice. But in the Catch the Clown game, what we did was when we collided with the wall, what did we do? Well, instead of that, what we did was we called some code. So if you type up here in the toolbox, say execute. So I got rid of the reverse direction, and we want to do an execute code. And it puts a code block here. Get rid of this and make this wider, and then scoot this over. And the function we want to call, again, we're having to go into GML. This used to be part of the drag and drop interface, but it's not there. So you'd say move, bounce, solid. See that one there? Move, bounce, solid. And then inside the parentheses, you type the word false. Then outside the parentheses, put in a semicolon. Okay? So move, bounce, solid. So what we're saying is we're moving, and we should bounce off solid things. And remember, our walls are solid, and pop is not. So pop should bounce off solid things correctly. Now here is where I have no confidence in this actually working. Okay? It might work. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it's kind of working, it looks like. Pop is getting higher and higher still, so that's not quite right, but so it's a little better, right? We're not changing our horizontal direction when we shouldn't. There's a rule in physics called the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. Ever heard that from physics class? If you play pool or billiards, when the ball hits the bumper on the side, the angles on either side of the ball are the same. Unless you have English on the ball, I guess. But still, we got this problem with pop bouncing higher and higher. Okay? So we're not modeling it very well. We do have the bouncing, I guess, working now. But now pop is almost hitting the top. So our gravity isn't working out. Our gravity should be pulling pop at least as much as keeping it from getting taller and taller. Eventually, if I let this run long enough, you'll note that pop will get out of the room. How does pop get out of the room? Anybody know? Yeah, well, it'll go so fast that on one frame it will be inside the room, and on the next frame it will be on the other side of the wall. And then suddenly pop can get out of the room. Let's see how long that takes. This might take a while. Let me just speed this up a bit. How could I speed up this weird behavior? Well, what I could do is I could go here in step event. Instead of just adding 0.1, maybe I add 0.5. Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. Ooh. So now gravity's a lot heavier, right? But pop is speeding up more quickly. See that? Okay, so what's happening? Pop is getting faster and faster. And watch what happens here pretty soon, I think. Pop goes so fast that it never sees the collision. On one frame, it's on one side of the wall. On the other frame, it's on the other side. And then pop is out of here, flying through oblivion. Whoa. So some people call this clipping, when you clip through a wall. Like you ever try Skyrim? There's this cool trick that if you hold out a metal plate in front of you and you use that one shout that makes you burst forward, you can actually get through the walls and behind things. So you can cheat at Skyrim. Yeah, there's all these mods. On the PC, you can do a lot of things that you can't do on a console version. Okay, so I'm still waiting for Pop to clip outside the room. Yeah, I don't know. Should be happening sometime soon. Oh, come on. It shouldn't take this long. Okay, so let's make it really obvious. Then I'm gonna add a whole bunch. 5, yes. Oh, that didn't take long at all, okay? So that's how Pop gets out. Let's watch that one more time. Yeah, he hits the top and then he's out of there, okay? So what happened there is, how did Pop get out? Well, on one frame, he was here inside the room. On the next frame, Pop was outside the room. And of course, the collision isn't happening, so you're done. It just keeps going and starts going forever, okay? So we've got some real problems here, right? Our problem is simulating gravity. Now, in the old version of GameMaker, it did have a gravity thing. Let's see if they have it in this new version. So if I type in gravity, it does have a gravity variable. Set gravity direction, set gravity force, and set frictions. So where would you set that? Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. This is in our step event. In fact, we're going to get rid of the step event entirely then. So let's get rid of step event. We're going to go here and delete it. Delete the step event, right? And what we'll do is, in our create event, we're going to give it some gravity. So again, if you type in gravity, this is the old way of doing it. You say, okay, set gravity force. And here they say 1. I'm not sure what their unit of measure here, but we'll just try 1 just to see. And then set the gravity direction. Maybe we do that first. And remember that down is 270. 0 is straight right. 90 is straight. Is it straight down? Yeah. Oh, just the defaults, yeah. Usually gravity's down in most places. I've been reading this book on anti-gravity. I just can't put it down. No? Not one? Not a laugh? Jeez, you guys are a tough audience. I have all these science jokes I try to do. But yeah, I just can't put it down. Another joke I came up with the other day was, hey, you know, when I retire from teaching, I think I'm going to install mirrors for a living. You know, I could really see myself doing that someday. Jeez. Those are horrible jokes. Don't repeat those to friends. You won't have any friends. Just letting you know. Okay, so let's try this. We set our gravity direction. We set our force. Let's try this out. Whoa, that's fast. So the question here is Pop getting faster and higher? And Pop still is. Why is he speeding up? I have no idea why he's speeding up. Let's take a look at that collision. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. It hits the wall. Yeah, see, all we're doing is hitting the wall, and we bounce. See, Pop should not be bouncing higher. It doesn't make sense. He shouldn't be getting energy from the ground. At least it should be losing energy. But it's not doing that. All we're doing is bouncing, right? Okay, so this is bombing out. We can't model physics this old way in this new version of GameMaker. This isn't working, okay? We're not adding any speed to Pop, but Pop's speeding up for some reason, okay? And eventually Pop will get out of the room. So we got gran problemas en nuestro juego. There's big problems, okay? So what GameMaker decided to do is to come up with a new physics engine, Okay, they have a brand new physics engine, and so we're going to try that. Okay. So what's cool about this new physics engine is you don't have to use collision events anymore. What you do is you set properties on the objects, and the objects figure out how to collide with themselves or with the other things in the game. It's all handled like, if you ever played Gary's Mod? Yes. Yeah, okay. It's kind of like that, okay, where everything kind of works like it should in reality, right? So what you do, in this creative event, yeah, we gave it some speed, but I'm going to try taking this horizontal speed out just to see if that's what's giving us our extra boost. So here it is, just going up and down. It's still getting higher. Yeah, so that didn't fix it. Okay, so we still have a problem. So what we're going to do is, GameMaker has a game engine already built into it, okay? Or not a game engine, but a physics engine already built into it. So we're going to get rid of this entirely, get rid of the collision event, because we're not going to need it anymore. Yeah. Oh, friction will help, yeah. Yeah, slowing down. If you had friction, that would work, but maybe that's air resistance. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense that it should get higher. Maybe it should stay the same. With friction, it would get lower, right? But yeah, if you put friction, you put very little friction on, like 0.1. But yeah, you could probably kind of make it work. But let's try this. We're going to delete this event, and then what we're going to do is we're going to also delete the create event, right? And we're going to let the object take care of itself. We're not going to have to code it directly. Isn't this back to where we started? We did all those changes, and now we just got rid of everything. Isn't that frustrating? Okay, I told you this was an experimental day. We're trying to learn how this game engine works, or how this physics engine works. So the first thing you have to do is you have to go to your room settings. What? Room settings? Yeah, so you have to go to your room, and then over here on the right, or on the left here, room settings. See down here, room physics? It's way here at the bottom, right there. So choose your room, and then go down here to room physics, and say enable physics. And notice when you enable physics, the defaults are 0 for gravity for x. Remember horizontal? There's typically, gravity doesn't affect your horizontal speed, right? It's the vertical speed that gets affected. So we're going to set the gravity to 10, which I don't quite get. And then pixels to meters. Each pixel represents a decimeter, or maybe 10 centimeters. So here we're actually talking in physical units, not in pixels anymore. We're talking about real life. Okay? If we play the game now, we'll notice that nothing changes. Or what changes, nothing happens. He just rotates. We say, well, didn't we just turn on gravity in the room? Shouldn't this do something? Should fall at least. Well, there's two little checkboxes. You have to make sure you hit the checkbox over here in the room. But then also on the object, here, see where it says physics? So you go to the pop object, and you say physics. And here, yeah. So we turn that on. I guess by just opening this, it turns it on, I guess. I thought there was a checkbox. Yeah, is there a uses physics? Oh yeah, uses physics right here. But notice it also has these things set up. Density is how dense it is. Like if you had something that's massive like lead, like a meter full of lead, as opposed to styrofoam, something made of styrofoam, it's going to have different characteristics when it comes to collisions. Something heavy versus something light. Restitution has to do with bounciness. Okay, so let's try this and see what happens. Nothing's happening. So we've turned physics on here. Oh, I didn't turn it on here. So make sure you click that on. And finally, we see that pop falls slowly, but doesn't bounce. Okay. So if we wanted to speed this up, there's a couple parameters we could do. We could increase the gravity. Let's try 20. Boy. It's a little bit better. 30? Again, I'm not sure what that represents, but. Right. Okay, so you remember too that I said, well, the objects have to take care of themselves. So in this new physics environment, this is a new physics world, a new physics engine in the game. I'm supposing that we have to do something to the wall as well. So if we go to the wall, and here we say uses physics, now we just brought it into that new physics engine world. And now it can see it. And what they imply in the documentation is that when two things collide, they should behave correctly. But I wouldn't put money on it. Oh, see what happened there? Yeah, all the walls are falling off the screen. Okay. So not only did pop fall off the screen, but so did all the walls. How do you get it not to do that? Well, if you go into physics here, I think that what you do is you set the density to 0. Now that's not possible in real physics. 0 doesn't. You can't have a density of 0. But what GameMaker does is, since you can't have a density of 0, it uses 0 as saying something that shouldn't move. Let's see what happens here. Ugh, yeah, it doesn't see the wall. Here's bounciness. Here's collision group. Linear damping, angular friction to state. Yeah. Sensor. Modify collision shape. No, I don't think that's it. It's pretty small. Yeah. What do you think?
If you set pop and wall to collision group 1.
Oh, okay.
Each other, but it won't bounce.
It won't bounce. Okay, let's try that. So we're setting the wall's collision group to 1, and then pop's collision group to 1. I'm not sure what collision groups do. I have to do a lot of research. So boink. Yeah. So it is hitting it, but we're not changing direction really. Okay. But at least he's not going outside the room. Yeah. Oh, that. It's because you have pop on the wrong. You have the wrong layer. If you're not, if you're on the background layer rather than the instance layer, I see that sometimes. So move it from the background layer to the instances layer. Okay. So at least pop's staying in the room, but again, it's not bouncing, right? So we've got. That's probably where we're going to be for today is figuring that out. Try to figure out what's wrong with that. Okay. I don't have an answer yet. Okay. But this is what I've been able to learn so far. Okay. We did get gravity. We did get pop to fall. It did seem to be speeding up, but this bouncing part. I mean, what we could try. We haven't tried this yet, but we could add back in that collision event, and then. Collision with the wall, and then we could see if we could call that function again. Move underscore bounce. Come on, solid. That one. And we say false. You do want to say false there. True will slow down your game. Let's see if that does anything. No. Same problem. I didn't think that would work. But. So once we go into this new physics world, we have to find this out. So what I'd like people to do today is do a little bit of research. Here's one place you can look, because I haven't got through the whole article yet. But if you go to here, programming, game design. I did save this. Maybe I'm not logged in. Let me log in. Oh, yeah, the password. Students ask me what my password is, and I say "bite me," and they type that in, thinking that's my password. Yeah, Physics and GameMaker 2, Part 1. So if you could go find this, it's on the Yo-Yo Games website, and it talks about the game engine, or the physics engine inside GameMaker. It does have one mistake in it. Fixtures, it says object base. That should say object floor instead. So under fixtures, that's incorrect. But I've gotten to about here. But I would suggest for reading, take a look out at the Yo-Yo Games site. Find this article, and it talks about the physics engine. Okay? And then we'll use what we learn here to figure out how to make pop bounce correctly. Okay? That's all I had for today.